Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here for day 6. Day 6 of the Season of the Witch. Hashtag rtcseason challenge. You guys, there's only one more day after this, and I cannot believe how fast this has gone by. But for day 6, the prompt is... I freaking forgot. Hold on. The prompt is Witch's Brew. I don't know how I forgot that. So at any rate, the prompt is Witch's Brew for me. Other people are going out of order, so their prompt might be different for today, but I'm very excited to see what everybody makes for this prompt, because I think there's a lot to work with here, and I've already seen some like creative wordplay and stuff like that with the word brew, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited. And for this one, I decided to sort of play with like altar space and setup and how we view that. And I decided for this page we weren't going to make like a big giant tag to go on the inside of the envelope. The envelope would just speak for itself because it's going to be doing some heavy lifting. But I wanted to do a little bit of mixed media. I didn't want to get too carried away with this card in particular. So this is actually going to be the back page of the envelope, and so I have added in this forest sort of photograph of the woods, and then I stitched it with this like really interesting branching stitch that I've never used before, but it was kind of giving Blair Witch a little bit, and so I was really interested in that, like the way that it looks like little like sticks of wood that have been like crossed across each other. I thought that worked really well for this foresty scene. And then I wanted to go and add like a couple different layers, so the layering was really important to me on this one. So I added in some Distress Oxide to stencil in some leaves, and then I went back over to emboss that. It's really important that the Distress Oxide is dry because it will pick up your embossing powder. So as you can see here, I am struggling a little bit because more of the Distress Oxide was wet than dry than I thought, because I thought I hit it with my heat tool really well, so you just want to make sure it's really dry before you start applying your embossing powder, otherwise you're going to end up embossing areas you don't want to emboss. But I'm using the Lost Shadow embossing glaze, which is just essentially translucent embossing powder that's been tinted a color. So the Lost Shadow color is like a very cool, very light gray color, and it's only because I wanted to play with that sort of layered aspect, so you can't really see the color so much as you can see the glossy, like transparent texture that's been made by the embossing, and I really like that. And then I'm going to add another little snippet here to get the little witchy vibes across. This one says Haunting the Woods because it's a picture of the woods. And then I have some of this crypt texture paste here, which dries down to like a grayish, sort of a translucent gray color, which isn't really what I was going for, but it's the right color for the particular project we're working on, because it's matching that Lost Shadow color. And what I'm hitting it with now is some mica flakes that I've had in my stash forever. So I'm pressing that into the texture paste as much as I can so that it sticks to the texture paste. And also because I don't want there to be like a bunch of fall off. There's going to be a little bit of fall off, that's normal, but I don't want like all of it to fall off, so you have to press it in there really well to get it to stick. But the texture from the paste is going to add a little bit of texture paste, but also the mica flakes are going to be a nice like sparkly dimensional sort of texture that's going to be added to that. And then now, because I wanted to play with altar space, like I said, I decided to make a triptych shrine like tag pocket front piece for the front of our card. So I'm basically making myself a template with just one half of the shrine space I want to use, and then tracing that over 4 times so that I get this fold out style card. So this is going to be the base of our card, and as you can see, there's 2 doors that will fold together and make one solid little space. So this is going to be our witch's like altar space that she can come to do her little magical workings. And I wanted to play with the idea of the Witch's Brew as a literal concept, so we're looking at her actually brewing things in a cauldron. So I have a cauldron stamp. I wanted to use my cauldron, so this is where she keeps her cauldron in her altar space. And Smokey thought this was a great idea, so that's what we did that day, even though his tail just demanded to be in all of the cutting space and heat tool space and ink and stencil space. We still managed to get it done. It was a collective effort. We worked really well as a team. So I'm going to back this so that it can be journaled on, which is some regular coffee dyed paper. because like I said, I want these to have a little bit of writing space, even if there's not a ton of writing space, or it's not necessarily like a journal, but there's still spaces to like write little things in here, doodle, whatever, add in little thoughts and sentiments or spells or whatever. Whoever gets this can decide what they're going to put in here, but this was my thought process behind it. And then each of these segments has to line up really well because I don't want it to look funky. Don't be stressed though if like when you get after like you back everything and you start to put it together, if it's a little funky, you can still trim up those edges. You just want to make sure you don't trim where it's folded, because you need it to fold so that it opens and closes. We're going to go back through, ink everything up. Also, inking will cover up a lot of errors too, so if you have any errors in your cutting, ink it up first before you start hacking away so that you can see what it looks like. And then I wanted to turn this tag into like the writing space tag to go behind this little pocket. And you guys, I will cut this about 700 times because every visual measurement I took was not the actual final measurement. And that was a learning experience. For me. Not for you guys. You guys probably would have measured, or at least, you know, not trusted your eyeballs as much as I did, because I was like, well, my eyes can't be wrong. I forgot that, you know, we're going to lose space when you glue it down. And, yeah, I had to learn that the hard way. Again, a lesson you think I would already know, but I didn't. It's okay. We managed to make it work. So, in addition to having this door space here on the front of this card, I need to figure out how to make it close. So at first I was like, oh, you can just put this little, like, cut out fortune teller sort of mystical eyeball on the front, and it'll do the job, except that it's not heavy, so it's not enough to weigh down the doors. So then it came down to solving that problem, which I decided was somebody else's problem. So I actually just put that off for future me to come back to. So I decided to sidetrack myself by embossing this up and then just using a little bit of, I think I used some distress ink. I don't remember. We'll find out together on this journey. But I'm going to emboss this in black embossing powder so we get a nice cauldron impression. And then, yeah, I used some distress oxide to ink it up so that it has some color. So just smooshing out some distress oxide and then adding a little bit of water and then drying in between the layers. It's important because the embossing powder will act as a resist, so you can paint right over the top of it without a problem, but just be aware every time you dry, like I'm doing here, if you don't let it dry normally, you're going to reheat and remelt your embossing powder. So again, you have to be careful to make sure that you're not like sticking your finger in it immediately afterwards or trying to paint on top of it while it's still drying, because you're going to get funky effects. But also make sure that you don't burn your embossing powder trying to dry your paper, because you're going to get an undesired effect as well. So then it did occur to me how to actually make this a functional opening and closing door, and it was with magnets. Magnets were the answer. So I had that little thought while I was doing the embossing and painting and stuff. So that's what we're going to do here. And as per usual, I will struggle with these magnets. Even though I am determined to not struggle, I will struggle because magnets are apparently my nemesis. I don't know why, but they are apparently my nemesis. So I'm going to glue those down and just leave them for a second so that they can actually adhere to the paper before I mess it up by doing things, and then go back and fussy cut our little cauldron out. It looks great. I like the little bit of color that's added to it. It has a little bit more body now. Looks a little bit more like it's not just an impression of a cauldron, but an actual cauldron. And this stamp is so cool. I just got it not that long ago, and I really like it. In fact, the whole stamp set I used throughout the entirety of this process, and it worked out really well. So yeah. As you can see, though, cutting it out was a little bit fiddly, but that's okay. We managed to make it work, although I thought I was going to, like, go crazy trying to cut this little excess piece of paper off of the handle. So just, you know, be careful, take your time. And like I said, ink solves a lot of problems, so I managed to go back and ink over that white space, and you can't tell that I was struggling to cut the handle out. It looks like it was meant to be there. I did use a marker for the smaller, thinner pieces so that I didn't destroy them in the inking, which is a great way to do that, especially if you're going to fussy cut out stuff that you have stamped. So we're going to add in our cauldron to whip up our Witch's Brew. And then I decided it wasn't brewing enough, so I'm going to go back and emboss some more stuff on top. I'm going to emboss this little swirl on here, and I wanted to have a bunch of swirls, but it turns out there's not space. So I switched it up a little bit, and just picked the one that was the most ornate for the size that we had. And then what I'm going to do is just lay down a piece of paper on the edge of the cauldron where I want it to look like it's coming out of the center, so that I don't get any, like, Versamark on it. I forgot what that was called. And then I'm going to use this translucent green pearl embossing powder that I have from WoW. So it has a nice, like, smoky, mystical, magical quality. And then we're just going to stamp in some stuff on the side, little bottles. And this one I'm just stamping in with some archival ink, which is water fast, so it won't smear if you apply water to it, so that I can come back and ink up these little bottles a little bit. So, like I said, there's a little bit of journaling space here. You could definitely jot in some stuff, but I didn't leave a lot. By the end of this, I decided it needed more stuff to look more like her secret altar space, and these would be like the bottles that she's like pouring stuff into her cauldron from. And then I wanted them to just look like old, vintagey bottles. So I used some blue and some brown, and I think I used a little bit of green to just have some cool, like, little old-timey looking glass bottles full of mysterious substances. And then we're going to add our closure so that it closes. And then I realized that I was a little bit off with my measurement for the magnet. So I just needed to refold and, like, recenter it again, but it works out fine. And I'm going to back these so that the magnet doesn't get torn off, you know, accidentally in the process of opening and closing, with just a little bit of that coffee dyed paper. So if you wanted to, you could technically journal on the inside of the little closure too. You could add a little, like, secret spell or something there as well. Not that I think I would necessarily, but there is journalable space in that spot. So then you're going to make sure that you put your closure where the fold is and not where the open space is. Otherwise you will be very sad when you go to open your doors because your closure will be blocking it. And then we're going to add glue to just the one side of our little fortune-telling crystal ball hands. And that's going to act as our closure. And then, oh, I guess I'm just, like, inking the part where the fold is, because there was a little bit of, like, visible white showing. I forgot. I didn't remember what I was doing. And then we're gonna assemble. So we're gonna back up our envelopes. Everything has dried. Everything is, like, ready to go. This paper is so cool. It's got this nice, like, gilding on it. It's very celestial looking. So I like that. And then again, of course, we're going to ink everything. Ink the heck out of everything. And then this is where I forgot that this was supposed to be a pocket. And much to my chagrin, I was very upset. So I just stuck it down on some scrap paper because, like, wiping that glue off was going to be monstrous. So it was just a matter of recutting out the shape again really quick on some, like, old wet scrapbook paper that I just had on my desk for some reason. And now we're going to turn it into a pocket. Because I forgot. Somehow I forgot. Even though I'm looking right at the tag while I was doing this, I forgot. And then I added a little in the cauldron snippet. And this is where I realized that the tag was not going to fit. Because I didn't account for having to put glue on the inside of this pocket. And then it still doesn't fit. And this is where I almost gave up. But then I decided to just keep cutting. Like, I wanted it to have a cool foiled edge, but sometimes it's just not in the cards. But it worked this time. So, we were able to make it work, and then I decided to add in an eyelet so that I could add in a little bit of lacy fiber fabric strips, little tiny bits of lace, so that I could have a little tied off tag. And then that's essentially it. I'm going to add the back piece to this, and then we're going to call it a wraps for this one. Definitely come back tomorrow, guys, for the last day of the Season of the Witch, hashtag RTC challenge. I'm off to go watch everybody else's videos and see what they made for today. I'm so excited. This has been a great challenge. I appreciate your faces, guys, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Until then, happy crafting. Bye!